waters are fast-moving.
Unlike other big rallies,
Cockpit earlier at about 7 a.m. A group from the Coast Guard.
Welcome to #PHVote 2013.
Today on Rappler, terrorist group ISIS brings the war to the outskirts of Baghdad.
I think that we are enraged.
A Rappler exclusive. The Vietnamese ambassador slams China's dream of a 9-dash in the South China Sea. And Japan relaxes visa requirements for the Philippines, Vietnam, and Indonesia. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Militants led by terrorist group ISIS, or the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, pushed a week-long offensive to within 60 kilometers of Iraq's capital city, Baghdad, on Tuesday. But Iraq's military claims it had driven back those militants who stormed the country's main oil refinery in the town of Baiji, the latest front in the battle. Baiji is 225 kilometers north of the capital. In a televised news conference, Iraqi military spokesman General Qassem Atta said the situation is under control. He claims most of the areas around the northwestern city of Tal Afar are now liberated. Earlier, the insurgents captured Mosul, a city of 2 million people, and Tal Afar, a Shiite majority town in northern Iraq, lying along a strategic corridor in Syria. Tension rises in the region, with Iraq accusing Saudi Arabia of siding with terrorism and of being responsible for financing the militants. The comments come a day after Riyadh blamed Baghdad's sectarian policies for the unrest. Foreign governments began evacuating their nationals and pulling out diplomatic staff. The U.S. deployed about 275 military personnel to protect its embassy in Baghdad, the first time it sent troops to Iraq since pulling out in 2011. U.S. President Barack Obama said they are, quote, equipped for combat. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said on Monday drone strikes could be used. The crisis displaced hundreds of thousands of people. The swift advance of the militants sparks international alarm, with the UN envoy to Baghdad issuing a warning that Iraq's sovereignty was at stake. What is ISIS and how did it rise so fast? ISIS is the latest reincarnation of fighters from Al-Qaeda-linked groups that are so brutal, Al-Qaeda distanced itself from them. The group traces its roots to Al-Qaeda in Iraq, led by the ruthless Jordanian Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. He tried to ignite a sectarian war between Sunni and Shiite and nearly succeeded. The pullout of U.S. troops in 2011 in Iraq, as well as the power vacuum in Syria, created conditions that one U.S. official called the Super Bowl of Jihad. In just 3 years, more than 12,000 Muslim extremists traveled to Syria to fight.
This has been a very troubling moment as ISIS, which went up into Syria to fight jihad there, are returning to Iraq, to their roots, with many foreign fighters in tow, including those who may be there from East Asia or other places in the world, including the United States.
The FBI estimates about 70 fighters came from the United States, including the first known American suicide bomber from Florida. Intelligence sources disclosed that about 200 Australians, about 50 Indonesians, and about 20 Malaysians have gone to fight in Syria. Singapore said it's investigating one Singaporean, while a Filipino intelligence source said at least one Filipino linked to the Abu Sayyaf has gone to Syria. This video of Indonesian men in Syria was posted on YouTube on June 9th, the day the militants began their march to Baghdad.
Dari jalan jihad ini, insya Allah khilafah akan menguasai dunia ini. Walaupun kita sekarang kecil, insya Allah janjinya Allah, janjinya Rasul.
On Friday, June 13th, Malaysian police arrested 3 Malaysians in Sabah. Police said they were members of a group linked to ISIS in Iraq and the Abu Sayyaf in the Philippines. 15 other members of the group were arrested since April 28. These men, according to a special branch source, were planning to fight in Syria and then, quote, launch suicide bombings in Iraq. they allegedly trained in the southern Philippines. The fear is that fighters from Syria will return home and carry out attacks using tactics they honed in battle. Goldberg says it could be Afghanistan all over again.
We were very concerned when we saw a video of an American, a young American, Abu Salah, who ended up in Syria and was involved in a suicide bombing. These are issues of concern because the same people who go in, if they're from a European or an American background, can travel more easily if they're not identified and known. So this has stirred quite a bit of concern in all quarters, not just in Washington, but around the world.
If history repeats itself, think tank group Sufan says, the Syrian war is likely to be an incubator for a new generation of terrorists. Vietnamese ambassador to the Philippines, Trong Chu Dong, says his country is enraged over China's actions in the South China Sea. In an interview with Rappler, Dong says Vietnam denounces China's dream of a 9-dash line, the demarcation mark China uses to stake its claim. Vietnam, after all, has a long tradition of repulsing its conquerors throughout its 2,000-year history, starting with the French and later the Americans.
I think that actually, yeah, we are enraged. We are very angry about what China has done in the South China Sea. You know, it's the South China Sea actually, and the Paracel as well as the Spratly Islands belong to us for thousands of years already. So we cannot let others come and conquer it. No, actually, you know, we have a tradition of defending our land, our motherland. It's been such a long history, or otherwise we would not survive until now. And so, you know, we always are ready to stand up against any kind of an aggression, either on land or even in the sea. And these are our legacy that our ancestors left for us, and we've got to defend it.
Dong says Vietnam looks to the United States to help them in their stand against China.
Well, actually, we always want the U.S. to play an important role here. There must be somebody who can stand strongly against the big guy over there. So there's no peaceful rise about China. No, there's no. You know, China is always saying that it there's a kind of a peaceful rise of China right now, but indeed, no, it's not peaceful at all.
Dong says Vietnam doesn't fear China because other countries oppose what China is doing in the South China Sea.
We don't fear anything. We do not fear anything. Yeah, we would be ready to encounter what comes next. Because nobody is supporting China right now. You can see that. Everybody is blaming China. Yeah, even the US, the Philippines, and many others. Japan, Korea, Australia, the EU, everybody is just blaming China.
Dong says Vietnam considers the Philippines an ally and that it will stand united with the Philippines in its maritime conflict with China.
Yeah, the only thing that I really want to express right now is that Vietnam and the Philippines, we've got to be united, and stand united. We will win. Yeah, we means Vietnam, the Vietnamese people and the Philippine people. We are on the same side.
President Benigno Aquino will visit Japan on June 24th, with China likely on the agenda. Aquino will meet Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe as the two nations deal with increasingly hostile disputes with China over maritime territorial claims. The Department of Foreign Affairs on Tuesday said there may be discussions to form a strategic partnership. In 2011, Japan hosted secret talks between Aquino and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front leader Murad Ibrahim, a key moment for the Bangsamoro Peace Pact. The Philippines and China are competing for territory in the South China Sea. Relations between Japan and China soured over claims to the Senkaku Islands in the East China Sea, which China calls the Jiaoyu Islands. The Japanese government rolls back visa requirements for the Philippines, Vietnam, and Indonesia. In a statement, Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs promised requirements for multiple entry visas will be eased, while requirements for single-entry tourist visas will be relaxed when applications are made through Japan's hand-picked agencies. A Japanese newspaper reports this is part of an effort to double the annual number of foreign visitors to 20 million by 2020. Tokyo will host the Olympics and Paralympics in 2020. This follows Japan easing visa policies for Filipinos for the further development of Japan-Philippines exchange in 2013. Before this, Japan only issued multiple entry visas to businessmen, artists, and specialists, as well as immediate family members of Japanese residents. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, will deploy trucks and buses on Thursday to transport commuters in the metro for free. This comes after public transport operators plan a strike to protest the government's joint order imposing fines on colorum vehicles, taking effect Thursday. Transport operators asked the Supreme Court to stop the implementation of the joint order, but failed to secure a temporary restraining order. The protest caravan's route will start from the Quezon City Memorial Circle to the offices of the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board along East Avenue, also in Quezon City, and the Transportation Department in Pasig City. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 6, with the defeat of the Miami Heat at the NBA Finals Monday, the future of the team's top 3 players is now up in the air. After the loss to the San Antonio Spurs, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh may all soon be free agents. The superstar trio can test the free agent market, delay free agency for another year, or re-sign with the Heat. The players say it's the last thing on their minds. James says, for all 3 of us, the last thing we're thinking about right now is what's going on this summer. At number 7, the final episode of the 4th season of HBO's Game of Thrones breaks piracy records for being the most downloaded torrent. According to Torrent Freak, the show was downloaded 1.5 million times within the first 12 hours of the file appearing online. On TV, some 7.1 million viewers tuned in to watch the season finale of the popular series. The show has been renewed for another 2 seasons. And at number 10, it's good news for the 2014 World Cup. In the weeks leading to the World Cup in Brazil, football commentators and the media predicted dire scenarios for the host country, including violent protests and unfinished stadiums. But just a few days into the biggest sporting event next to the Olympics, all seems well. The New York Times reports the World Cup is proceeding like any international sporting event, with minor problems like exposed wires and last-minute repairs. The most pressing concern for fans? Being sold counterfeit tickets. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Check out Rappler's Project Agos microsite, a one-stop shop for educating the public about how to prepare better for disasters. Project Agos aims to raise awareness on climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction and management. It can help people better prepare, respond, and aid in recovery. Visit www.rappler.com/Project Agos. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page. That crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that have gotten the most number of reactions, the stories that have affected our readers and viewers the most emotionally. If you take a look, these 10 stories have gotten the most number of votes. We see here the story from the Vietnamese ambassador to the Philippines, Q&A, the brave, patriotic Vietnam challenges China. Interestingly, 25% inspired, 75% happy. Game of Thrones, you just heard about this. The finale, the most downloaded torrent, HBO is thrilled. 16% happy, 73% amused, but interestingly, there's 2% angry, that red, coming out in the story that's gotten the most number of votes over the last 24 hours. Bong Revilla visits vote-rich barangays ahead of arrest. Interestingly, 30% happy, 53% angry, that red, bringing out the mood of the day. Today, most people are angry. Well, that is Rappler's Newscast for today, Wednesday, June 18, 2014. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.